Hi, and welcome to A Queer POV. I'm your host, David Begor. Today I'm talking about social media. Specifically, I'm focusing in on Facebook and Instagram and what these platforms have done to our community and what they continue to do. Here's a thought experiment. You have a friend that follows you everywhere and takes notes on everything that you do. And every day, they like to remind you, I know you. I just want to know you more. I notice everything. What makes you laugh, what makes you cry, what keeps you up at night, what you look at when no one's watching. And I never judge you for any of it. Other people have to ask how you're doing. I already know. I know you better than anyone. Better than you know yourself, honestly. That friend remembers your ex, your favorite drag queen, exactly how long you gazed upon that shirtless influencer, and even what videos made you cry at 2 a.m. And then one day, that same friend leans in and whispers, I saw you posted about your new pronouns and coming out. Just so you know, if you continue to mention words like gay, lesbian, queer, or trans, I'm going to make you invisible and make sure nobody sees you. You'll be all alone. Remember, I know you better than you know yourself. That's not a friend. That's an algorithm. We let our guard down on these sites. We built our lives on these platforms. We came out on them. We found each other on them. We organize on them. We mourn on them. We celebrate pride on them. We gave them every part of our lives, our stories, our data, our community. We make them rich. And in return, they shadow ban us. They censor us. They let hate permeate the system and silence our voices. So Zuckerberg can play both sides and call it free expression. Let's talk about that. Did you know that Instagram had been quietly making LGBTQ plus content disappear for years? I'm not talking about explicit content. I'm not talking about anything that violates community guidelines. I'm talking about queer people existing and living their lives, posting about their relationships and their art and their activism. Instagram's algorithm decided that all of that was sensitive. In January 2025, User Magazine's Taylor Lorenz broke the story that Instagram had been automatically blocking teens from searching LGBTQ-related hashtags. Not just hashtag sex or hashtag explicit. We're talking about hashtag gay, lesbian, trans, non-binary, bisexual pride, all blocked for months. A kid trying to find their community, a teenager searching for the word that describes who they are, and Instagram said, nope, sensitive content. But when they got caught, Meta called it a mistake, an error. They mistakenly restricted those hashtags. But it had been happening for months before anyone noticed, and it took journalists calling it out to reverse it. Mistakenly restricted. That's the phrase they used for hiding us. And it's not just hashtags. In 2023, Instagram banned 6 ads featuring transgender and non-binary people of color, claiming that they promoted escort services. These were ads for Salty, an online newsletter. The people in the photos were not sex workers. They were, and I'm quoting the reporting here, empowered people of color, non-binary, disabled, and plus-size bodies. Rolling Stone covered this. The algorithm classified queer bodies as sexual by default, based on who they are, not what they were doing. And in late 2025, it got worse. The Guardian and a group called Repro Uncensored documented more than 50 LGBTQ plus reproductive rights and sexual health organizations had their counts disabled, limited, or shadow banned. More than 50. In Europe, the UK, Asia, the Americas, and the Middle East. The queer agenda in Amsterdam, deleted. Their founder's personal account gone too. A Colombian helpline called Jacarandis. Their WhatsApp line got blocked 3 times. Spanky Jackson, the winner of Drag Race Down Under, locked out of their account for alleged human exploitation. A drag queen performing for their community is what Meta's algorithm decided was exploitation. That tells you exactly how Meta sees us. Okay, so the algorithm was already working against us. But how does a company that banned Donald Trump after January 6th end up donating $1 million to his inauguration? Well, in July 2024, Trump survives an assassination attempt, raises his fist, and Zuckerberg calls it one of the most badass things I've ever seen in my life. That's the CEO of the company that banned Donald Trump after January 6th. Suddenly, he's a fan. Well, in late 2024, Zuckerberg flew to Mar-a-Lago for a private dinner with Trump. Then in December 2024, Meta donates $1 million to Trump's inaugural fund. That's a first. Meta didn't donate to Trump's first inaugural in 2017 and didn't donate to Biden's in 2021. But now $1 million. Well, I guess he wanted something. In January 2nd, 2025, Meta promotes Joel Kaplan to head of global affairs, replacing Nick Clegg. Joel Kaplan is a longtime Republican operative. 8 years in the George W. Bush White House, he's a known ally of Brett Kavanaugh. And inside Meta, he's been advocating for right-wing outlets like Breitbart and the Daily Caller. He's pushed back against restricting racially incendiary speech on the platform. That's who's running global policy now. Then on January 7th, 2025, Zuckerberg posts a video announcing sweeping changes to content moderation across Facebook, Instagram, and Threads. He ends third-party fact-checking, and he replaces it with community notes, the same system that Elon Musk uses over on X. And he guts the hate speech policy. And I mean he guts it. Here's what Meta's new policy allows in writing. You can call LGBTQ plus people mentally ill on Facebook and Instagram. Allowed. You can call us abnormal. That's allowed. You can advocate for excluding us from employment, from teaching, from the military, law enforcement. Allowed. You can advocate for excluding us from bathrooms, sports leagues, healthcare, and support groups. Allowed. You can refer to a transgender person as it. Allowed. You can say LGBTQ plus people shouldn't exist. Allowed. The word tranny is no longer classified as a slur. And I'm quoting directly from their updated community standards. We do allow allegations of mental illness or abnormality when based on gender or sexual orientation, given political and religious discourse about transgenderism and homosexuality. You can read that for yourself. I've linked it in the show notes. 3 days later, January 10th, Meta fired its entire DEI team, ended diversity hiring programs, ended minority-owned supplier requirements. Their chief diversity officer, Maxine Williams, was reassigned to employee engagement. In March 2026, just a month ago, Meta's own oversight board said publicly that community notes are not a substitute for fact-checking and could pose significant human rights risks. The oversight board said it out loud. Zuckerberg did nothing. Because this was never about free speech. Well, okay, let's talk about free speech in social media. Zuckerberg wrapped all of this in the language of free speech. The gutted protections, the green light for hate speech, the political capitulation. All of it dressed up as free expression. He said, and I'm quoting, "It's time to get back to our roots around free expression on Facebook and Instagram." Roots. Like calling us queer people mentally ill is somehow a founding principle of the platform. A lot of people throw around free speech without understanding what it actually means. The First Amendment protects you from the government. That's it. End of story. The government cannot punish you for your speech. That's what the Constitution says, and it has nothing to do with what a private company allows on its platform. The Supreme Court has been pretty explicit about this. In 2019, in Manhattan Community Access Court versus Hellick, the court ruled that private companies are not bound by First Amendment restrictions. Justice Brett Kavanaugh wrote this opinion. A private company can moderate, curate, and remove any speech it wants. That's their legal right, full stop. And in 2024, in the net choice cases, the Supreme Court went even further. They ruled that when a social media company moderates and curates content, that's their own protected expression. Meaning, Meta choosing what stays and what goes on its platform is free speech on their terms. So when Zuckerberg says he's protecting free expression by allowing hate speech against queer people, he's not following the law, he's making a choice. Meta still bans female nipples. You can call a trans person it, but you can't show a woman's breasts. That's Meta free speech. Meta removes 99% of ISIS and Al-Qaeda propaganda before anyone even reports it. They have automated systems that catch it within an hour of upload. So they have the technology. They have the infrastructure. They know how to stop dangerous content before it spreads. They actively remove copyrighted content. Post a clip from a movie or a song without permission? Gone. Because Disney and Universal have lawyers. We don't. They banned Donald Trump from the platform after January 6th. They restricted COVID misinformation for years. They made editorial decisions every single day about what speech was acceptable and what wasn't. But now that the president is back in power, Zuckerberg, a billionaire, wants a seat at the table. Suddenly it's free expression. Suddenly moderating hate speech is too many mistakes and too much censorship. They will remove content that threatens their profits. They will remove content that threatens national security. They will remove content that offends powerful corporations. But content that threatens queer people, content that tells queer kids they're mentally ill, content that says we shouldn't exist, that's free speech? GLAAD's president Sarah K. Ellis said it plainly. It tells LGBTQ people all we need to know about Meta's attitude towards its LGBTQ users. Anti-LGBTQ hate, and especially anti-trans hate, is welcome on Meta's platform. This free speech playbook is not new. During the civil rights movement, Southern officials used free speech doctrine to suppress black protests and silence the press. Court protected cross burnings as free expression. The language of liberty has always been available to people who want to harm the queer community. The suppression playbook doesn't change, the target just rotates. So no, this is about power. This is about positioning Meta on the right side of the Trump administration. And we are the bargaining chip. The lambs to the slaughter so Zuck can earn another $1 billion. The data is there on the censorship and the free speech lie. It's brutal. and it is hurting our queer youth. The Trevor Project, which runs the leading crisis intervention and suicide prevention program for queer youth, has been tracking this. Their research is really clear. LGBTQ plus kids who feel unsafe online are more likely to attempt suicide. LGBTQ plus youth experience cyberbullying at 50% higher rates than non-queer youth. 49% of LGBTQ plus kids aged 13 to 17 experienced bullying in the past year. And Instagram and Facebook are the two platforms where cyberbullying happens most. Meta already knew this. In 2021, whistleblower Frances Haugen leaked internal Facebook documents showing that Meta's own research found Instagram makes body image issues worse for 1 in 3 teen girls. 13.5% of teen girls in the UK said Instagram made their suicidal thoughts worse. 17% said their eating disorders got worse. Meta knew. And a jury agrees. On March 24th, 2026, just last month, a Los Angeles jury found Meta liable for deliberately designing a platform that caused a young woman depression, body dysmorphia, and suicidal thoughts. Meta was ordered to pay $4.2 million in damages. Their own internal research showed the harm, and they buried it. There are now 2,000 more lawsuits waiting. Remember that friend I talked about at the beginning of this episode? The one who notices everything, the one who keeps you up at night, knows what you look at when nobody's watching? For a queer kid scrolling Instagram, that friend serves up a steady diet of impossible bodies, perfect relationships, and filtered lives. Everything that they think that they're supposed to be. They start comparing themselves, feeling smaller with every swipe. But hey, at least they've found their community, right? Well, until the day they post something honest. A boyfriend, a coming out caption, a trans flag in their bio, and suddenly the views vanish. The algorithm friend is still watching, still collecting data, and is now doing what it does best to queer people. Shadow banning them for existing. Now imagine you're a queer teenager on that same platform. You're not just dealing with normal pressures of body image and comparison. You're dealing with all of that, plus an algorithm that hides your community from you, plus a platform that just told the world it is okay to call you mentally ill, plus a feed full of people who now have explicit permission to say you should not exist. Recent Trevor Project data, and I've linked this in the show notes, shows anxiety symptoms among LGBTQ plus youth rose from 57% to 68% between September 2023 and March 2026. Depression went from 48% to 54%. Suicidal ideation went from 41% to 47%. Behind every number is a kid just trying to be seen. For gay men who already live inside a culture that worships the body, Instagram made it worse. Research published in Cyberpsychology, Behavior, and Social Networking found that only 6% of men on Instagram posts show high body fat levels, while 35% are depicted as both extremely lean and extremely muscular. The real world? 37% of men have a BMI over 25. Instagram doesn't reflect reality. It distorts it, and that distortion becomes the voice in your head. It feeds disorders, isolation, the feeling that you're never enough. GLAAD surveyed users after Meta's January 2025 changes. 75% of LGBTQ plus respondents said harmful content targeting their communities had increased. 77% said they feel less safe expressing themselves on Meta's platforms. 77% of us don't feel safe being ourselves on a platform where we built our communities. For queer people, especially young queer people, especially those in small towns, in conservative families, in places where being out could cost you a lot, Facebook and Instagram were lifelines. A 2020 study found 70% of LGBTQ plus teens found supportive networks online. The Trevor Project found that 68% of LGBTQ plus youth said online spaces were affirming, compared to only 54% who said the same about school. For many of us, the internet was the first place we weren't alone. We found family on these platforms. We came out in DMs before we came out at our dinner tables. We organized pride events. We mourned Pulse together. We shared coming out stories that gave someone else the courage to tell theirs. And now that same platform, the one that hosted all of that profited from all of that, from our engagement, our content, our eyeballs, our data, it decided that we're expendable. We weren't dangerous to them, we were inconvenient. And that's a choice, and choices have consequences. Diversify where you show up online. Try apps like Corners, Blue Sky, or Substack. Build something there. I'm not saying to delete everything tomorrow. I totally get the thought process of letting all that go. Personally, I deleted Meta from my life because I could not continue to justify the damage to my mental health. I'm not grieving leaving Facebook. I'm not angry at myself for the time I spent on Instagram. I made my choices. I own them. What I'm angry about is the lack of moral clarity companies like Meta show. The willingness of these companies to oppress minorities, silence queer voices, and calling it free expression. That's what's been on my mind today. We're not powerless. We never were. Stay or go, that's your choice. Only now, you have more information to make that decision. And when we leave, when we take our content, our data, our communities somewhere else, we are telling these companies exactly what we think of them. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to this episode of A Queer Point of View, Friends, Loves, and Life. You can find me on Substack, YouTube, and Blue Sky, all at David Begor. DM me some questions, send me some ideas, or just say hi. If you have a moment, please leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm David Begor. Until next time, be bold, be free, and most of all, be you.